The morning began like any other in the city. Soft sunlight touched the tops of the tall buildings. Cars rolled slowly onto the waking streets, and people moved with the usual rhythm of daily life. Some hurried, some wandered, some carried laughter, others carried heaviness. On a quiet corner of that busy city stood a small bakery, the kind of bakery that always smelled like warm vanilla and fresh bread. The glass display inside was filled with pastries covered in cream swirls, perfectly sliced cakes, fruit tarts glistening under warm lights, and loaves of bread dusted with flour like snow. To many, it was a place of comfort, a place of treats, a place that made birthdays and celebrations sweeter. But today, at the door of that bakery, stood a little girl who had seen nothing sweet in a very long time. Her name was Haniya. She was 8 years old, small for her age, wearing a faded gray shirt that had once been white. Her hair was tied in a messy ponytail, and her sandals were worn so thin that the ground might as well have been touching her feet directly. But the most striking thing about her was not her clothes or shoes. It was her eyes. Eyes that held pain, hunger, and stories far too heavy for a child. Haniya had lost her mother a year ago. Her father, once strong and hard-working, had fallen sick soon after. With no relatives, no money, and no one to help them, Haniya spent her days wandering the streets, searching for scraps of food. Sometimes people gave her a piece of bread, sometimes water, sometimes nothing but harsh looks. But hunger does not wait. Hunger does not understand dignity. So today, Haniya stepped inside the bakery. The warmth hit her like an embrace. The smell of sugar and butter wrapped around her. She approached the counter slowly, almost fearfully. Behind the counter stood a young woman named Mina. She wore a clean uniform and had her hair tied back neatly. She looked professional, polished, but her eyes were sharp and impatient. She had seen Haniya before, and she did not like her presence in the bakery. Haniya pressed her small hands together and whispered, "Do you maybe have any expired cake? Just a little? I don't have money." "But I'm very hungry." Mina rolled her eyes, not with curiosity or confusion, but with irritation. "We don't give away free food," she replied coldly. "If you don't have money, you shouldn't be in here. Go, leave." Haniya flinched as if the words themselves were sharp. She lowered her gaze. For a moment she stood there silently, swallowing her disappointment, her hunger, her shame. Then she turned to leave. But someone had been watching. Standing quietly near the corner of the bakery was a tall man in a navy blue suit. His presence was calm, confident, the kind of presence that comes from years of success and power. His watch was expensive, his shoes polished, his expression thoughtful. His name was Arman Hayat. He was one of the wealthiest businessmen in the city, a billionaire known for building companies that shaped industries and employing thousands of people. People respected him. Some envied him. But few really knew him. Arman had come to the bakery just to buy a coffee. But what he had seen instead was something that reached inside his chest and shook something loose. He had seen a hungry child ask for expired food and be turned away. He stepped forward. "Why did you speak to her like that?" Arman asked, his voice controlled but carrying weight. Mina blinked, startled. "Sir, we are not a charity. If we start giving away food to every poor person, we'll go out of business." Arman didn't raise his voice. He didn't scold. He simply said, "You are not losing money by helping someone who is starving, but you are losing something far more important when you refuse." Mina fell silent. Arman walked to Haniya and knelt so that he was eye level with her. His voice softened. "How long have you been hungry?" Haniya hesitated, then answered honestly, 2 days, and my father's hungry too. He's sick. I just wanted something small so we could share." Arman felt something in his heart tighten. He knew wealth. He knew power. He knew business. But at this moment, he was reminded of something else. He was human, and being human means being able to feel another person's pain. He looked at the bakery employee. "Pack every cake, pastry, and loaf of bread from this display." Mina's mouth fell open. "All of it, sir. All of it." Then he turned to Haniya. "These are for you and your father." Haniya's eyes filled with tears. Not tears of sadness, tears of disbelief. "How do I thank you?" She whispered. Arman smiled gently. "One day, when you see someone hungry, help them. That will be my thanks." Haniya nodded slowly, taking his words deep into her heart. That night, Haniya carried the food home, and for the first time in months, she and her father ate until they were full. Her father cried as he tasted the bread, not because of the food, but because someone had been kind to his child. But the story does not end there. Arman returned the next day, and the day after that, and soon he arranged proper medical care for Haniya's father. He enrolled Haniya in school. He moved them into a small but safe home. For the first time in a long, long time, Haniya had stability, warmth, a future. Years passed. Haniya grew. She studied hard. She remembered every word Arman said that day, the promise she had made. She carried it like a treasure. She became a doctor. Not a rich doctor, not a famous doctor, but a doctor who never turned away anyone who was poor. When people asked her why, she always answered with a smile, "Because once, when I was starving, someone fed me, and I promised to do the same for others." Time continued on. Arman grew older. His hair turned silver. His steps slowed, but his heart stayed warm. One day, he visited the hospital where Haniya worked. He didn't know she was there. He was just there for a routine checkup. When Haniya saw him sitting in the waiting room, she froze. Her throat tightened. She walked toward him, her eyes shining. "You." Arman looked up, and recognition washed over his face. She knelt slightly and wrapped her arms around him, not as a child hugging a savior, but as a grown woman hugging the reason she became who she was. Arman smiled softly. "You kept your promise." Haniya wiped her eyes. "No, I'm keeping it every day, for the rest of my life." Arman felt peace like he had never known, because true wealth is not measured in money. It is measured in the lives we touch. And sometimes, one small act of kindness becomes the reason someone else survives, grows, and shines. A child once asked for expired cake, and instead, she was given a chance to rewrite her story.